I want to cover two very important components of proving that the employees of your dealership are in fact eligible to work in the United States. First, we're going to cover the federal I-9 Employment Eligibility Form, and then we're going to cover what is known as EVerify. First, let's talk about the I-9 Employment Eligibility Form. The Form I-9 is used to verify the identity and employment authorization of an individual hired for employment in the United States. All U.S. employers, including dealerships, must properly complete Form I-9 for each individual they hire for employment in the United States. This includes citizens and non-citizens. Both employees and employers must complete this form. So let's go back here a little bit. In 1986, Congress reformed the United States immigration laws to preserve the tradition of legal immigration while seeking to close the door to illegal entry. The employer sanctions provisions found in the Immigration and Nationality Act, which is known as the INA, were added to the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986. And these provisions further changed with the passage of the Immigration Act of 1990 and the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996. Did you get all that? You know, employment is often the magnet that attracts people to reside in the United States illegally. And the purpose of the employer sanctions law is to remove this magnet by requiring employers, such as dealerships, to hire only individuals who may legally work in the United States. These are going to be U.S. citizens, non-citizens, nationals, lawful permanent residents, and aliens that are authorized to work in the country. So to comply with the law, dealers must verify the identity and employment authorization of each person that they hire. You're going to have to complete and retain a Form I-9, which I'll show you here in just a moment. And for each employee, you have to fill this out. You're going to have to refrain from discriminating against individuals on the basis of national origin or citizenship as well. I want to repeat that very important statement. No matter what, you've got to refrain from discriminating against individuals on the basis of national origin or citizenship. At the same time that it created employer sanctions, Congress also prohibited employment discrimination based on citizenship, immigration status, and national origin. This part of the law is referred to as the anti-discrimination provision. So you definitely want to be aware of that. So the Form I-9 is available in English and Spanish. But I want you to be really aware, you can complete this form in Spanish for Spanish-speaking employees, but you must complete and retain the English version. Okay, so no matter what, you can complete the Spanish version, but for your records, you'll need to complete and retain the English version. So you must complete an I-9 each time you hire any person to perform labor or services in return for wages. So you are going to fill this out every single time you hire someone in your dealership. So on the form, a dealer must attest to his or her employment authorization, and the employee must also present their acceptable documents identifying their identity and employment authorization. The dealer must examine the employment eligibility and identity documents that the employee presents to determine whether the documents are reasonable and genuine and relate to the employee. And you're going to have to record the document information on the Form I-9. So that ID that the new employee shows you will have to be entered on the I-9 form. And I'll show you how to do that here in just a moment. Okay, let's talk about where to file. As I said, you do not file I-9 with the USCIS or the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. You must have completed the I-9 and keep it on file for each person on your payroll, and also retain and store Form I-9s for 3 years after the date of the hire, or for 1 year after the employment was terminated. Okay, so for either 3 years after you hire that person, or if you even terminate a person, you have to keep it for at least 1 year after the termination, whichever is later, okay? And you also have to make sure that these forms are available for inspection if they are requested or authorized by United States government officials, maybe from the Department of Labor or the Department of Homeland Security or the Department of Justice. So you have to make these part of your record-keeping systems. Now, here's some special instructions that I want you to be aware of. Actually, only employers and employees in Puerto Rico can complete the Spanish version as their official version. Spanish-speaking employers, employees in all 50 states may print this for their reference. But as I said earlier, you must complete the form in English to meet employment eligibility verification requirements. So I definitely want you to be aware of that. Now, I'm going to show you how to fill this out, because you definitely are going to be filling this out. I'm assuming that at one time or another, you're going to have employees, so you have to fill this out every time that you hire an employee. So where do you get it?
Well, it's a fillable form, and you can easily download it at the uscis.gov website. So you can type your answers directly on the form instead of writing them by hand. So this is a fillable download form, and I want to show you how to easily complete this form, like you see right here on the screen. Okay. I want to show you how to fill out the I-9 form correctly, because you need to fill it out correctly every time that you hire a person, and you're going to have to store it correctly as well. So let's go ahead and blow this up. And by the way, you can easily download this form at uscis.gov. And so when you download the form, and like I said, it is a fillable PDF, so you can just jump right on here. The first thing you're going to do is put the employee information. You put the name, address of the employee, the date of birth, the social security number, the employee's email address, and the employee's telephone number. And then you're going to check whether or not they're a citizen of the United States. So if they're a legal citizen of the United States, you just check box number 1. That's pretty self-explanatory. But maybe they're not. Maybe they're a non-citizen, or maybe they're a lawful permanent resident, or maybe they're an alien that's authorized to work. You want to make sure and have them sign it and date it. And then you're going to leave this little space right over here blank. Okay, so you leave that just in case somebody from Customs comes in. They might have a little stamp that they want to put on there that shows that your records have been inspected. Now, if this has been prepared by someone, then you need to designate that on the form. Okay, so you'll either check you did use a preparer or did not. Okay, and if you have a person preparing this for the employee, then they have to sign this as well. Okay, now if you have had a person preparing it or translating, then you also have to fill out the supplement. This is the I-9 supplement form for the preparer or the translator certification. So that's something you want to be aware of as well if you're assisting that person. And also, here's another continuation of that form. You, as the dealer, you're going to complete this part of the information as well. Okay, so you definitely want to make sure that you have all your information here. You're going to put your employees, your name right there. It's going to go there. You're also going to show what type of document that the employee has provided for you. So maybe they provided an ID. Maybe they provided a passport. I'll show you the legal documents they can use for IDs here in just a little bit. And you can assign this document a document number if you want to. And as you scroll down here, either you or, maybe you've got a sales manager or something like that that's hiring. Somebody's going to have to actually sign this. Okay, somebody from the dealership has to sign this, and you'll have to put the address of your dealership. But you also need to make sure, no matter what, when you're hiring this employee, that they do have an acceptable form of ID. Now, on page 3 of your I-9 form, it's going to show you acceptable forms of ID. So I want to blow this up here a little bit for you. You can have a U.S. passport or a resident card or a foreign passport, as long as it's not expired. Over here, these establish identity. This is going to be like a driver's license or an ID card. Voter registration card's fine, or even an ID card that's issued by a school, or a military card, or, they can also show social security numbers as well. Now, one thing I want you to be really, really aware of is if you're hiring somebody less than 18 years of age. So if you're hiring somebody less than 18 years of age, they're not legally able to sign any type of forms such as the one that you're looking at right here. So if they're under the age of 18, then you'll need to enter that information that says individual was under age of 18. So don't have them sign that. Just enter there that the individual was under the age of 18, and also designate whether or not they have a preparer. And one more thing on this, you want to make sure if there is a person with a disability, but you want to sign special placement, and that's what it's called, special placement, if you have hired somebody with a disability. So definitely keep that in mind. You want to make sure you know how to fill this out correctly, because you're going to fill it out every single time that you hire that new salesperson or that new sales manager, or that lot porter, or anybody, so you have to be aware of this. And I'm assuming, when you get your dealer's license, if you don't have one right now, you'll probably be hiring employees. And if you are a currently licensed dealer and you have employees and you don't have this form for every single employee, you definitely need to fill it out. So remember, you're not going to mail this form. You're going to store it for a minimum of 3 years from the hiring date of the employee. And if you terminate the employee, then you must keep a file for a minimum of 1 year. And I want to make sure that you're very aware that you must always have these forms accessible, okay? Just in case somebody from the Customs and Immigration Services or Department of Justice or Department of Labor comes in to ask for your I-9 Employment Eligibility Form, make sure you've got them in your records, and this will help you maintain your compliance. Next, I want to talk about an employment verification component that goes hand in hand with the I-9 Employment Eligibility Form, and this is known as EVerify. Once again, that is EVerify.
EVerify is a web-based system that allows enrolled employers to confirm the eligibility of their employees to work in the United States. EVerify employees, they verify the identity and employment eligibility of a newly hired employee by electronically matching the information that's provided on that I-9 form that the employee just filled out, okay? So when you do this, it's going to match the information that the employee filled out on the I-9, and it's going to go against the records that are available to the Social Security Administration and the Department of Homeland Security. So EVerify is an internet-based system that compares information on that form with information in the database, okay? So verification of employment eligibility, this EVerify operates with real high speed and accuracy, and EVerify is the only free, fast online service of its kind that can electronically confirm an employee's information against millions of government records and provides results in as little as 3 to 5 seconds. So we'll definitely be able to verify this status. So, and you can easily go to that website. But before I show you how to do this, it has over 967,000 enrolled employers of all sizes. Okay, and they conduct more than 2.5 million hiring, and it's also joined by about 1,500 new companies such as dealerships every week. And it is one of the federal government's highest rated services for user satisfaction. So EVerify gives you, the employer, the dealer, peace of mind that your employees are legally authorized to work in the United States. Because if they lie on their form, and you want to make sure that you're not accidentally employing somebody that's not legally able to work in the United States. So I want to kind of back up here just a little bit. You are required by law to complete the I-9 form for each newly hired employee. And EVerify complements Form I-9 by taking employment verification to the next level. EVerify is a voluntary program on a federal level. Employers may also be required to participate in EVerify if some states have legislation that mandates the use of EVerify, such as a condition of business licensing. So each state does tend to have its separate requirements on EVerify, but from a federal level, it is a voluntary service. Finally, in some instances, employers may be required to participate in EVerify as a result of a legal ruling. So if you maybe possibly hired illegal employees in the past, as part of that judgment, you could possibly be required to run an EVerify from here on out. Now, EVerify is available on all 50 states and U.S. territories, and it is currently the best means available to electronically confirm employment eligibility. EVerify, it was actually also authorized by the Illegal Immigration Reform Act of 1995. So in the EVerify process, employers create cases based on information that's taken from the employee's Form I-9 Employment Eligibility Verification. EVerify then electronically compares that information and will tell you whether or not the information that your employee entered on that I-9 form is true and correct. So the dealer is usually going to receive a response within a few seconds, either confirming the employee's employment eligibility or indicating that the employee needs to take further action to complete what is known as the case. So EVerify is actually administered by two separate federal agencies, by the Social Security Administration and the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. Okay, so they are basically the organization that facilitates compliance with U.S. immigration law. And by providing EVerify program support and training, that will definitely make sure that you are hiring employees that are eligible to work in the United States. So, works with the I-9 form. This is going to use information provided by the employee. It's got secure 24-hour access. You can do this anytime, anywhere. No special software is required to run EVerify, just a web browser with internet access. It gives you instant results. Most case results will be displayed in about 3 to 5 seconds. It also helps you combat document fraud. So EVerify's photo matching feature combats document fraud. User access flexibility. They give you 3 different user roles to choose from depending on your dealership needs. The reporting capability. A dealer can monitor usage and provide proof of compliance to any state or federal auditors and officials if you need to. You can certainly provide proof of that almost instantaneously. It's also really easy to implement. So, you can decide your participation location by location. So if you have multiple dealerships, it's going to help you assist with hiring
employees at separate licensed locations. They also have really great interactive training. They've got comprehensive online tutorials, quick reference guides, and manuals. Another great service about EVerify, it alerts employees when an employee has mismatched what's called their government record. So maybe you've got an employee that entered some false information on that I-9 form. This is going to alert you, which is great. They got dedicated customer service, and you can give them a call or an email at any time. But I do want to talk about some other tips on EVerify. And you'll need to remember this as the employer when you are operating your dealership or currently operating your dealership. You may not require your employees or potential employees to use self-check or EVerify under any circumstances. And I want to repeat that very, very important statement. You may not require your employees or potential employees to use self-check or EVerify under any circumstances. So requiring a job applicant to provide proof of their employment authorization before establishing as an employment is what we call pre-screening, okay? And it may actually constitute a violation of the anti-discrimination provision of the Immigration and Nationality Act. So you never want to allow your employees to log on here and do EVerify themselves, okay? So you may not require an employee once hired to use the service as well, okay? This is basically, EVerify is for an employer, not an employee. So it's going to be you, the dealer, never the employee that's working for the dealership. So the website that we're going to go to here in just a little bit, it's e-verify-gov. So now remember, you always need to complete that I-9 form first, okay? And no matter what, you have to fill out the I-9 form, and this basically confirms that person is basically allowed to work in the United States. So your new employees must still fill out I-9 and present any unexpired work authorization documents. So you'll need to examine those documents presented, and then you're going to fill out that Section 2 of I-9, but you're going to need to create an EVerify case for all new employees if you are participating in EVerify. I want to repeat that. Once you start EVerify, the federal government would like you to continue to use EVerify, and it just takes a few seconds. I'll show you here in a second. So make sure that you're always using it once you do hire employees, okay? So there's another service that we won't get into too much, which is called self-check, and that's where a person can run their own. But you, as the owner of the dealership, are going to be basically running the EVerify, okay? So now, when we get on here, when you enroll your dealership in EVerify, you're going to need to answer some basic information about your dealership, and you're also going to have to agree to the rules of the EVerify program, okay? So during this enrollment process, you're going to have to answer 4 questions to determine your access method. You're going to need to select your organization designation if your company is a federal contractor or other special category. You're going to have to review, acknowledge, and agree to what's called the Memorandum of Understanding, which I'm going to show you here in just a little bit. That just is basically the EVerify disclaimer, okay? So you're going to enter your company details. It's very important, however, during this process, you're going to have to enter your North American Industry Classification System code. That's an NAICS code. And I'll show you how to do that here when we fill this form out here in just a moment online. You have to provide hiring site information, and you also are going to register the program administrator. So maybe you've got a sales manager, or maybe you're large enough to have a human resource manager. Maybe they're going to be doing this for you, okay? So you're going to review this and certify the information, and then you're going to have to print your electronically signed Memorandum of Understanding. So to get started, you're going to have to go to the website. As I said earlier, it's EVerify, but if you want to go directly to the online version, it's verify.uscis.gov, okay? So you're going to want to, go down this checklist here. So you're going to view the enrollment website, and you need to accept the terms, and you can enroll in EVerify right here through this website. So definitely read these instructions and go down that checklist. And when you're ready to begin, you're going to click the Begin EVerify Enrollment, okay? And then now you're going to need to determine what is known as your access method. Before you can start using your EVerify, you need to enroll your dealership into the program. So the term company means any business such as your dealership. So from here on out, remember, company means your dealership. So when you enroll your company, you need to tell EVerify some basic information and agree to the rules of the program. So you'll enroll your company just once, and after you do, you can register yourself and then other employees to actually use the system. When I say an employee, I mean someone that's in leadership or management, such as a sales manager or a human resource director, not your salespersons or lot porters or mechanics, okay? This would only, when you're allowing an employee, it's only going to be leadership of your dealership, obviously. So if your company is already enrolled in EVerify, you would just need to register yourself as a user, and then you're going to ask for the EVerify program administrator that you can use. So this would be somebody that's in leadership. You're going to have an access method for your dealership, and there are basically 4 access methods that we're going to talk about here. You're either going to be an employer agent, a corporate administrator, or a EVerify web service administrator. Okay, so as I said, EVerify is going to guide you through 4 questions to help you determine your access method and find out which is the right one for your dealership. So you definitely want to read these questions carefully, because errors can cause delay on approving your company's enrollment. So you want to make sure that you're going to be doing this correctly, okay? So you're going to determine your access method, and then you're going to review and confirm your access method. So EVerify gives you an opportunity to review your enrollment answers and to confirm the access method selected is going to fit your dealership needs. And then next, you're going to need to select your organization designation. Certain types of organizations have unique EVerify requirements. So it's important for you to know if your company is a federal contractor with or without a federal acquisition regulation. We'll talk about federal contracting in another part of the course, when where you go into small business administration resources. So I'm assuming right now, let's say that you're not a federal contractor at the current time. So most dealers are going to select that none of these categories apply. So you're going to need to review and agree to what is known as the Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, okay? So you need to review your dealership's obligations as explained in the Memorandum of Understanding and indicate that you agree with those terms. So, and you will be given the opportunity to download a copy of your electronically signed Memorandum of Understanding at the very end of this enrollment process. And now what you're going to do is enter your Memorandum of Understanding signatory information. So you'll enter the contact information of the person who electronically signed the Memorandum of Understanding on the preceding page. And you're also given the opportunity to designate this person as an EVerify program administrator. And then you're going to enter your dealership information. So you'll enter your dealership details, including your company's name. If you have a parent organization of your dealership, you'll have to have the physical verification location, mailing address, your employer identification number. I want to repeat that. Your employer identification number. That's your EIN, or sometimes we call it that, your federal tax ID number, and your total number of employees. If you're enrolling your company in EVerify, and you would like to link this account to an existing corporate administrator account, you can certainly do that as well, okay? And now we're going to enter what's called the North American Industry Classification Systems Code. Did you get all that? We call this the NAICS code, okay? So you're going to enter the first digits of your company's NAICS code. So for dealers, it's going to be 441. Then you'll enter retail trade 44-45, and then you'll select the motor vehicle and parts dealer. I want to repeat that. First, on this process, you're going to enter 441. Then you enter retail trade, which is 44 to 45. And then you'll select motor vehicle and parts dealer. And that will allow EVerify to easily identify that your business is a dealership. Okay, so always remember that NAICS code. Sometimes we need that on other tax documents as well. So then you're going to provide hiring site information. Okay, so you're going to enter here if you do have multiple dealerships in multiple states that participate in EVerify for each state. So that's something you definitely want to be aware of. And also, do not include locations that are not going to participate in EVerify. Remember, while you are free to choose EVerify participation on a site-by-site basis, your dealership must use EVerify for all newly hired employees at each participating site. So please keep that in mind. Now, during the enrollment process, you can register as many program administrators as you would like. However, you must register at least one. Okay, so that could be you. But if you indicated earlier on your Memorandum of Understanding signature, that should also be the program administrator. Then this is a person that you can choose to add more. So after enrollment, your program administrator can then register general users and additional program administrators. So maybe you're the principal owner of the dealership, then you can certainly be the administrator. But like I said, maybe you might want to assign some user roles to maybe a human resource director, or maybe you've got a husband or a wife that you want to run your employee operations. You can certainly add them as an administrator. Then you're going to review and certify the information. So you want to review this information very, very closely, because you want to make sure there's no errors, which can cause delays in approving your EVerify enrollment. If you need to change any information, you can do so. Just certify that and then submit your information. So at the very bottom there, when you click Register Employer, then it's going to automatically pop you up a PDF. Then that will give you the proof that you have registered with EVerify. That's pretty easy. Wouldn't you agree? I think it's a very easy to use system. So when does a dealer start verifying employees after you've enrolled in EVerify? Well, you're going to do it for all new employees on the date that you sign your memorandum of understanding. So keep this in mind. I want to really reiterate this. Once you register as a company for EVerify, from then on out, you are going to use EVerify for all new hires on the date that you hire them. So do please keep that in mind. Here's some really great EVerify contact information for you here that you see on screen. The best phone number to reach anybody with questions about EVerify is going to be 888-464-4218. Once again, that's 888-464-4218. They've got a teletype service there at 877-875-6028. A great email address is going to be e-verify@uscis.dhs.gov. That's kind of a long one there, but this email, e-verify@uscis.dhs.gov, is a great email. I've sent emails to this during the course development, and they usually respond within the hour. So you don't always expect that from the federal government, but they do. So I was pretty impressed with that. And here's, once again, EVerify technical support. Any questions whatsoever, 888-464-4218. So in review, remember, you're going to fill out the I-9 Employment Eligibility Form for every single person you hire. And then you can certainly use the EVerify program to verify that everything the employee put on the I-9 form is in fact accurate, and that you are in fact only hiring employees that are legally able to work in the United States.